Change a Life it's a Change a Life project, which is why we call it project. Change a Life project started as a child of necessity. You know how it is when you do a television show. We started New Dawn 8 years ago. And after the first year of the show, maybe because of the nature of the kind of stories we used to do, people started coming to the station. Now, on the surface of it, just as you are sitting here, we will smile, we will do the TV show. But behind the scenes, every day, daily, I had so many people coming, women, children, needing help. Incidentally, somebody said once that they told her that go and meet that auntie where they for NTA, where they help people. So this was going on. And usually what I would try and do is find support or solutions to some of them, because you can't do everything. There's so much need. But there was a particular day on television in Lagos when this parent brought this little boy to me. I would never forget his name, Sheun Goriola. He was a 4-year-old boy with a hole in his heart. And as usual, number one, I don't put people on TV. I don't use people's pain for viewership. I think that number one is a sign that you don't have enough talent in the first instance to be on television, and also it is immoral. I don't do it. So we will do it behind the screen. But this particular boy was in so much pain, none of us could bear it. And they'd been waiting for 1 year to raise just 1 million naira. This was in 2002. So, I just said, I took that instant decision that day that, look, we've got to put this boy on air. We've got to raise this money now for this child. As we were talking about it, just as it's happening, and you've had experiences like this on channels, some lady called from Maryland, incidentally, because we just saw the tape recently, and she was talking, how can this happen to each? And then she broke down and started crying. And as she started crying, the mother of the child started crying, the father of the child started crying, the child all the while was crying, and then I started crying. So we had to go on a commercial break. By the time we came back, I will never forget that day. That's my most powerful television moment. Children were coming with 10 naira. Auntie Funmi, give him 10 naira. Give him. And I remember Dr. King sent his wife with Ghana Must Go bag containing 250,000 naira, which was the money he had been wanting to use to build his house. He gave it all away. So we raised to try and save this boy. And on the eve of his departure to Israel for the operation, the boy died. All of us were devastated. What was the purpose of all of this? However, because so many people come to me, I had 2 other children, one of them Favor Okafor and Baby Salami, who also had holes in their hearts. So we gave the money to Favor Okafor, and Favor is alive and well today. It was from that experience that the Change a Life project started. And 7 years later, we have affected over 3,000 families, because there are many, many modules within the Change a Life projects.
Congratulations. You almost made me cry there, talking about that little boy who died.
Oh, and see, if I tell you all there was Opeyemi too, after all the effort. The entire society failed Opeyemi. We all failed him, I felt, because he came to me, he was the most dignified human being I'd ever seen. He had been burnt. His story was, I came to Lagos, he wanted to go to university. So he got a job so that he would raise money to go to university. Whilst coming from work one day, he got into a one chance bus, and they robbed him and then threw acid on his face. As he got out of course, they pushed him out of the car. And this was on 3rd Mainland Bridge at 8:30 in the evening. So he started walking from the top of 3rd Mainland Bridge to the Oworoshoki end. Not one single person stopped for him. When he got to the end of the bridge, he tried to get help to go to hospital. Nobody would stop. Eventually, some people took him to Bagada General Hospital, where, of course, they won't treat him unless he has a police report, So he didn't get any medical intervention from 8:30 in the evening to 1 p.m. 6 months later,
1 a.m.
The family has spent all their money, which was when he came to me. He didn't come to me to come and help him with his physical appearance. He came to me because he wanted, the neck to be disjointed from his face to be disjointed from his neck, so that he could talk properly, so he could do his WAEC exam, his JAMB exam. I thought that was one of the most honorable, most superior human beings I'd met. And we immediately started rallying support. I spoke to Modupe Ozola, who said, okay, they will support if we could raise the money. So we started running as usual. And before you knew it, he caught malaria and he died. So we have also really good stories. I have children whom, when they brought them to me, were just like this itty-bitty old, and they're in university. I have 6 of my children who are in university now. We have someone like Baby Faith, who was brought in abandoned, and he's been adopted and is in Netherlands now. So we have all kinds of stories. We have
And
great
I'm also
stories,
aware that
we have sad stories.
you have this scholarship scheme.
And we have the scholarship scheme. There are 150 children have passed through that. Currently, we have 60 children on the scholarship. We've had them on for the past 6 years. The beauty of it is that we've watched our children grow. And we don't just give, in the first instance, we don't collect money and we don't give money. What happens is that the money goes directly to the school or to the books. And then when the children have problems, we solve the problem. My little girl, Quinette, at 14 years old, she had fibroids. It was our duty to make sure that she was well. So it's not just the scholarship. We take over that family because the idea is to transform lives so that those lives also become life transforming for other people. It's not a give or take organization. It's a take and give organization, because giving is such a beautiful thing. You know, it's a sin not to allow other people to give too. You cannot always be the one giving and getting the full benefit of giving. You must also encourage and teach other people to give.
So, is this project confined to Lagos alone?
For now, it is, because it is, you know, I mean, you know, I'm telling her, you know this, I people used to say it all the time, that for me, you are never going to have money, because how do you distinguish your work from the Change Your Life scheme? For now, it's confirmed to Lagos, and this is the reason. The first time I decided to do something institutional about it was in 2002, because after Sheon Goriola died, I decided that let's start with children. Let's start with the scholarship scheme. So I carried myself and my crew, and we went to the governor of Lagos State at that time, Shiwaju Bola Tinubu, who is used to me and my so-called wahala with those kind of things. And I said to him that you've got to help us, because we don't have time for red tape and bureaucracy. There are people that have to be helped now and now.
Otherwise
and
they will die.
Otherwise they will die, because those are the kind of cases we take on. It has to be, if we don't do something, you know, that's the end. Yeah. So he supported us then. I mean, at first he even started with his own salary. He used to give us his money for the children, and then he was part of the project as the Lagos government for 5 years until he left. The beauty of the project for us is that whilst we were going to Lagos State for help, the person who was facilitating some of those things was the then chief of staff. Guess who that is? The current governor, Baba Tunde Raji Fashola. So he used to say to us. He used to say to me that, Funmi, you know, you should institutionalize this thing, because he's a very process-driven person. It's not as madcap as myself, for example. So even what we are doing now is really from his suggestion, that we've done 7 years of work, and I needed to do those years of work. Number one, to prove to everybody that, number one, there was no agenda. Number two, it's done only because it was a child of necessity and it had to be done. And finally, to call everybody else to say, hey, look, this is what we have done. It would be great if we could do it together. So we've done it thus far in Lagos, but we're taking modules of it out of Lagos. For example, we have one of the modules is a cervical cancer screening for women between ages 25 and 65. We test run that last week in Onigbongo local government. My friend, whom you know I love her to death. I mean, that's her brainchild, because she's a consultant gynecologist in Luf, and she came up with that idea.
Who's this friend?
This is Dr. Bosede Afolabi.
Dr. Bosede Afolabi.
Yeah, so last week we called the local government chairman of Onigbongo, and that will be Mr. Obasa, who is an old journalist friend of mine. And we said, Mr. Obasa, we're starting with your local government area. And last week, Dr. Afolabi and her crew screened over 100 women. There was nobody there. There was no press. This is the kind of work we do. We're test running this in Lagos because we intend to take it around Nigeria. My dream, our dream as Change a Life, is that by 2010, we would have screened up to 10,000 Nigerian women.